2, and 1. And happy Monday, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of ArmTalk. I am your host, Jody Williams. And today I got a special guest because she is one of the most powerful arm wrestlers in Oregon from the ladies division. So everybody put your hands together and welcome Miss Katie Henke. Katie, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Jody?
I'm doing pretty good. Just coming off a weekend, and I'm feeling pretty good. Kind of sore still. I'm back to training after our event from last weekend that you did awesome in, by the way.
Well,
But
thank you.
this is about you. This is about what you come from, where you came from, and where you at now, and where you're going to go from there. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the floor. So let everybody know about what was life like for you about 10, 12 years ago.
Oh boy. Okay. About 10, 12 years ago, life was real hard. I was almost 400 pounds, and it was a struggle to do much. It was a struggle to walk a block. I couldn't get dressed without getting sweaty. I couldn't take a shower without needing another one by the time I got out of the shower. In addition to that, I had been diagnosed with a whole bunch of different problems, from fibromyalgia to degenerative disc disease to all sorts of stuff, along with a bunch of mental illness diagnoses as well. And so I had been put on Percocet and morphine and like a pain plan. So I got so many hundreds of pills per month, right? They give you a whole bunch, and then you're supposed to use them responsibly. Good luck with that. And it was a big relief at first to not be in pain. But after a while, I started to realize that I was in a better mood too when I was taking these pills, or at least I thought I was, so it quickly turned into an addiction that lasted 2 or 3 years. It got really, really bad. I was taking 20 Percocet and 10 morphine a day, and driving, doing everything you shouldn't do while on opioids. And I didn't actually go through the legal system or anything. Finally, I just called my doctor one day and said, I can't take these anymore. They're killing me. And they just cut me off cold turkey, which, if anyone listening has ever had to stop an opioid cold turkey, it feels like you got ran over by a train for several days. After that, I had to go through intensive outpatient treatment for a few months, random UAs, all sorts of stuff to, make sure I was, not using anything anymore.
Right.
And, life started to get back on track kind of, but my weight wasn't. My weight was still high. I was still close to 400 pounds. And
by the way, Benji Mack says you look phenomenal from 400 pounds to wow. So there you go.
Thank you. Thank you. I went through, and I did have that bypass surgery, but unfortunately it didn't do a lot for me. I didn't listen to the doctor's recommendations. I know better, right? At least that's what I was telling myself. And so it probably only lost me about a net like 40 pounds, honestly. And so now I'm left with this like tiny intestine and this tiny stomach, and I'm still 300 and something pounds, still unhealthy. And life wasn't that good at that point. I was hospitalized twice in a mental institution for all sorts of stuff, self-harming behaviors, all sorts of diagnoses I had. That was a really hard time. That was 2011, 2012. And after that, I had that surgery I mentioned that didn't really do a lot. And then because I didn't listen, and looking back on it, I don't think it was a good idea anyway. It's always like hindsight's 2020. If I knew now what I knew then, I never would have had the surgery. I would have just changed my habits as they were, because it wasn't anything in my life. It was my habits that was causing all the problems. And
quick
so,
question. Do
yeah.
you think some people, and I'm only asking this because you've been through this before, do you think some people, when they think, they get that gastric bypass, is like a quick like turnaround, like, okay, it's like some kind of magic pill, and like you still got to put the work in, you know what I mean? Like,
I think a lot of people will tell you that's not what they think, but that's what they think. At least that was my point of view, is that I would be like, oh no, it's not a magic bullet. It's not this, it's not that. But definitely inside I was like, oh good, finally I don't have to be trapped in this like huge body anymore where everything is like every day is pain. Like I couldn't even clean my house. I had to sit on my butt and scoot around just to clean stuff because bending over was too painful and too difficult. So I had that surgery in the end of 2014. And then, things started going downhill in my relationship with my husband at that time. I don't consider myself a very good partner at that time. I just had a lot of stuff going on in my head, and I wasn't very healthy physically or mentally. And we got divorced in 2016, and then life got really hard. At first, it seemed like life was going to be great, right? Like I was going to be on my own. I was single after like 17 years of being with somebody, and it just, I got really into alcohol. So much so that it was like a half a gallon of vodka a day.
Damn.
Or every other day, depending on if I worked or not. And I would have to wake up in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. to drink because I was shaking and sweating so bad. Because I couldn't make it through a work day without going home to get a drink. And then, of course, I drive back after getting that drink just to make it through a work day. Like my coworkers would see me like shaking, like literally, like I don't know if anyone's ever had to go through DTs or gone through them, but it's like you can't do anything. You're just shaking. You can't focus. All you can think about is like the drink because that's the only relief you can get.
Right.
And so I got fired from that job, understandably. They probably kept me on way too long because they were nice people. And then I got another job working in accounting. And working in accounting and drinking don't mix very well. And so I was making all sorts of mistakes. And they told me that they were going to let me go if I didn't shape up. And so I got real depressed about that. And I went home that day and started drinking at like 11 a.m. I always started every day with like a huge drink anyway. So it wasn't like a big deal to me to drink at 11 a.m.
Right.
Which is pretty sad looking back on it. But so I started drinking at like 11 a.m. and then like 6 p.m. that day, I had been like 7 hours straight of drinking. And I smoked like 2 packs of cigarettes and as much marijuana as I could find, and really any other drug that I could find. I was an equal opportunity user.
So you were basically thrashing your body. I mean, for what reason though? Like, is it just because you were depressed? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I realized I'd made a lot of mistakes in my past, and it was, it was hard to deal with, and fired from jobs, not being able to pay rent because even though I'm making a lot of money, it's all going to like frivolous stuff like alcohol and dates and new clothes and makeup and crap that doesn't matter, and it was like I was on like 3 or 4 different dating websites, just constantly going on dates. It didn't matter as long as I could get alcohol, right? Like I didn't actually care about the dates. That's what's so horrible. I have a lot of guilt inside for being like a total user of everybody and everything. Like, if I could get the alcohol and I didn't have to pay for it, well, that was even better. And that's the kind of person I was at that time. Right. And so that day that job sent me home, I decided to drive to my friend's house at like 6 p.m. or something. It was in August of 2018. And I was driving all over the place, apparently, and I wrecked my car. I had a really nice, beautiful car, and I wrecked it into a ditch. And somehow I managed to not ruin any property or harm anybody aside from myself and the car, which I told. And I got arrested, and I ended up spending 48 hours in jail, and I got 5 years probation. It was my only offense ever, but my blood alcohol level over an hour after the accident was still 0.254, which is over triple the legal limit.
Sister, what is going on? I mean,
I was train wrecking really hard. And that was in August of 2018. And so then I didn't have a car. I didn't have a job because my job, they either gave me the choice of resigning or they were going to fire me because I couldn't make it to work anymore.
Right.
And I wasn't reliable because I was always drinking. And so I didn't have a job now and I didn't have a car. And so I was busing it everywhere or getting rides, which I didn't have any friends anymore because I'd burn all those bridges.
Right.
So it was just busing with me and my kids and, and my ex-husband still hadn't taken them away, and he probably should have. In hindsight, I shouldn't have been in charge of anybody. I couldn't even take care of myself.
Right.
And so, a few months went by and I'm still drinking, right? So that was in August, September, October, November, December, still drinking, still using whatever I can find, everything I can find. It doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter who it is. I don't really care about you. I just want the drugs and the alcohol.
Right.
Not a stand-up person, I would say. And then I find out I'm going to be forced into treatment, right? So I'm forced into court-ordered treatment. They want me to go for a full year of intensive outpatient. And in February of 2019, I joined this dating site called Bumble, which is
Bumble.
Yeah.
Like
it's
Bumble
where
Bee?
it's the same thing as all the others, except only the woman can send the first message. And so,
Whoa.
I'm swiping and all this stuff, and I swipe and I see this guy and I swipe and I send him a message, and he messages me back, and I'm like, oh, okay. And so it ends up being my partner now, Paul. And I was like his first or second ever internet date, right? Like he's not this internet person, but I'm on there all the time, right? Looking at all the dates. Who can I get from who? What can I get from who? Who can I use today?
Right.
I've been told like I'm a really nice person, but I wasn't always that way. So I feel like sometimes people that seem nice is because they've gone through a lot of bad stuff. And I was the bad stuff, right? Like I was the bad person. And so, we go on a date and it's a really nice date. Like he wants to meet for tea at 2 p.m. And I'm like, nobody ever wants to meet in the daytime. They only want to meet at night at a bar. That's it. Every guy I meet only wants to meet at night at a bar. And then maybe there'll be fun after. And that's it. That's all the date, every date, my whole dating experience for years. And that's it. No one wants to meet during the day ever. Almost no one. I can't say nobody, but almost no one. And then he's like, let's go to the park for a walk. And I'm like, this guy's a weirdo. Okay, sure. Why not? What am I got going on? Nothing. I got no friends now. I got no car. Oh no, I got a car finally. I found I was paying way too much a month for a really old shitty car I got from like a dealership on 82nd or something that would somehow finance me. And I have an interlock device in my car. So the blow and go. So I have to blow into it every time I start my car. And
that's big time stuff right there, sister. Like
my car is a disaster, just like everything else in my life. It's full of garbage, and I'm smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. So the whole car stinks. Everything's disgusting. And we go on this date, and finally, it's like after we were together for hours, and finally, it's like 5 hours later. I'm like, I need to have a cigarette, and he's like, you smoke? And I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, I put on my profile that I smoked socially, which was a lie. But who's going to date somebody if they're like a chain smoker? Plus, I'm never like. You
have a comment. So King Willie says, just started listening to her story. Wow. Arm wrestling is the only thing that has convinced a number of my large friends to meet up and exercise. It changed all of our lives during the pandemic. And what I like to say about this thing is that had I not fell into arm wrestling, who knows? I might be, I don't know, probably coaching football and probably, going to the bar and, playing pool, drink here and there. And, not that you can't do that, but it puts your mind at a different, like, okay, I got a match coming up. I got a tournament coming up. I got to get my butt in gym. I got to make it happen. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I had to.
No, it's okay. I'm kind of being long-winded about it. So, eventually I stopped smoking. I stopped drinking. I entered treatment. I go to a place called Native American Rehabilitation Association. Now I'm not Native, but they take anybody. Mm-hmm. And so, I was lucky enough to get in there, and I get out in 9 months. So they let me out early because I do so well. I never fail a UA. I get a job. I work for New Seasons Market. I'm a housekeeper. I love it there. I'm walking constantly. I'm losing weight. I'm eating clean. Everything's good. I'm not using anything, not even caffeine, nothing. And so things are going really well. And, eventually Paul's like, well, I like arm wrestling. And he'd gotten some table from his friend in Canada. Yeah. And so he's like, well, let's find an arm wrestling club. Maybe there's one. And so he's like, oh, well, there's this guy named Jody Williams that we have to contact. And I'm like, okay. So we
Who's
contact
that
you.
guy?
Yeah. So we contact you, and then you tell him that there's a guy named Mark Owen in Portland that has a club. So we contact Mark Owen, and it turns out that we live very, very close to Mark Owen. Like we used to live like 3 blocks from him, and we didn't
Right.
even know it. And so then we go and we have a son together now. And at that time, our son, his name's PJ, was only like 2 or 3 months old. And so at first it's just pole arm wrestling, because I'm like, well, I like sports. Like I like to compete. I love soccer, basketball. I've played soccer. I played in college a little bit, but arm wrestling just looks like, ugh, just like too like brutish. Like I don't want to do
Right.
that. And then plus it's like all dudes, right? And I keep hearing about this woman, Nancy, but she's never there yet, right? I never
Right.
see Nancy. I just hear about Nancy at first for weeks. And so I'm like, well, I'm the only girl and I got this baby, so I'm not even going to try. And then after a while, I'm like, I want to try. Like, I want to see how strong I am or what I can do. And so I start practicing. And finally Nancy comes, and Nancy's like a killer, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
Nancy's like a beast. And so I'm like, oh my God, like I gotta have to get a lot stronger if I want to even hold her hand at the table. And so that's really where arm wrestling started for me. Hey Sarah. That's really where arm wrestling started for me is just going to practice and then wanting to see if I could do it. And then hearing about this legend, Nancy, and I really think she's a legend, and I'm not being that sarcastically. That woman is
hey.
so freaking strong. She is the
Listen.
strongest hand in the wrist. I don't know. She's an inspiration to me because she won worlds at like 46 or something, or 45.
Pastor Mark's in the house. Yes. So for those that don't know, in the Northwest, Nancy is the queen of arm wrestling as we speak. And it's only a matter of time before.
Nancy Nations. That's a cool
What's
name.
that?
She has a cool name, Nancy Nations. I mean,
Right.
That's awesome.
But I'm telling you, she's been kind of going through injuries, that kind of stuff now. So, but I'll tell you what, I think she's going to Arizona State also, but we'll get into that in a second. But go ahead.
Yeah. And so I started training, and it's been just over 2 years since I started arm wrestling now. My very first tournament was the LLD in 2021. And and I won that tournament. And if you watch the videos from that, I don't have very good form, but I'm trying really hard, and I'm kind of strong, and I'm pulling against some really strong people, Kimberly Woody and another girl named Eliza, I think was there. And yeah, they were both really strong. And somehow I pulled out the win, and you gave me my first gold medal. And and that gave me like this hunger inside, like, ooh, I got to get better at this. Like, I want to try more. Like, what's the next one? What's next? And you were talking about the arm wrestling. It gives me something to look forward to aside from, the other stuff going into my life, like a personal goal to keep striving towards. And that's something, when I was into alcohol and drugs and serial dating or whatever you want to call it, there was never anything really to look forward to. It was always the same shit, different day. It was, there was no goals in mind.
You know how some people trade one addiction for another?
Yeah, totally.
So look at it like this. Like, I traded away alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, what have you, for this addiction. Because, and I only say that because everybody in the chat will know where I'm coming from when I say this. Once you get into this sport, it's an addictive thing, right? So you're addictive as, okay, I got to go to the gym and get ready for an event. You get addicted because, hey, guess what? You don't have to look a certain way to compete in the sport. You don't have to be a certain way. There's so many different, you can be like me with the dad bod and still kick some ass or whatever. Or, you can be looking like a Greek god. There's ladies that look like she can, beat the hell out of somebody. Or there's women who look like, she just, just got home grocery shopping with the family. So, it's one addiction for another. And I like this thing. And hey, it's awesome that you turned a new leaf, because who knows where you'd be at had you not done that. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I hadn't, if I hadn't gone into treatment and, probably met Paul, he was a really good positive influence for me as well. I was going to get kicked out of where I was living, and I had 3 kids. I was going to live nowhere. or shelter, or who knows what was going to happen to me. I have no idea. It could have gotten really even darker than it already was. I mean, like I said, I could talk for hours on that, and I won't, because this is about arm wrestling. And so, I went to that LLD, and then I went to, what was after
Did you go
that?
to Myrtle Creek or
I did.
Willamina?
I went to Willamina, the 4th of July Willamina, because they didn't have it last year. So I went to there in 2021, and I won that. And that was really fun. It was hot. It was really fun.
And by the way, that tournament is tomorrow, by the way.
Yes, tomorrow. I'll be there.
So
and then I went to the Joe Woody, and I got 3rd at Joe Woody on left and right, because Mindy Woody is a beast. She is small but mighty. I mean, watch out for that woman. If she cared to travel and compete, she would be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, she is. If you go there and she competes, you watch out for her. She still beat me last year on the right. I beat her on the left finally. And I tell you what, even though she's tiny, I was still so happy to have beaten her, because part of me inside's like, well, you outweigh her by 100 pounds or whatever. Like, you shouldn't be that excited. I don't care. I was so excited that I beat her, because she's got that farmer strength or something. I don't know.
Now, we all know, depending on the situation, you can't always say, well, you outweigh her by that much, so you should be able to win. That's not always the case. I mean, I've lost to people who, outweigh them by 40 some odd pounds.
Yeah, I know that now, but like when I first started, it was just like, well, I'm way bigger, so I should win, right?
Right.
When you're new in arm wrestling, I feel like you don't understand all the nuance in the sport and all the technical, the technicalities. Like, it's a super technical sport, and people just think it's like two brutish people getting up there and pulling their arms, and it's not that at all. That's what it looks like sometimes, but there's a lot of skill involved.
Right.
And I didn't really have a lot of skill. I just had some strength and not almost any table IQ, like almost anything. And so last year I beat her on the left, and I took 2nd to her on the right. And I mean, I have so much respect for that woman. She's amazing. And obviously my goal is to beat her. So, assuming I go back to the Joe Woody, which I was planning on it, but is to beat her and beat everybody. Right. And that's everybody's goal, isn't it? To win. I mean, yeah. I would hope. And so that was my first year of tournaments. And then I went to the Washington State tournament not 2021, 2020. No, I'm getting my years confused. Yeah, 2021. They had one in Vancouver, right. And there was a really small turnout for women. So I won that, but there was only a couple of women, I think, that showed up. But it was, it was still good. And then this last year we did all the same tournaments again, except there wasn't a Willamina in 2022. Right. And then there's Willamina tomorrow, and it's gonna be like 96 degrees, and I'm like, oh my gosh, so hot.
Yep.
And then Arizona State on July 15th, which
Hey Sarah, I know Sarah Latona's in the chat. She'll be there.
Yeah, she said she's gonna be there. I think there's gonna be a whole bunch of people there. I have no idea what to expect. I'm just gonna do my best. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna do the best I can do and hope for the best,
Paige Williams, she pulled Nancy in the super match at Arizona State last year.
Yeah,
I'm sure she'll be there. I'm sure, very, very strong lady.
Yeah.
That would be interesting matchup if you happen to. Oh, Sarah says she's only pulling left. Because she has a major match coming up with Sarah.
Yeah,
LaFawn.
Sarah LaFawn. Yeah.
But Paige Williams, very, very strong. And so if some way y'all meet up, which I'm sure you two will, it'll be interesting and exciting, because at this point, as you know, before we went on the air live, we were talking about, some of the people in Oregon. It's like we have to travel, and, anytime we go out of our region, we're carrying that Northwest banner or the Oregon banner. So when you got guys like Brian Fry, and Pastor Mark and what have you, and I guess to a certain extent, when you travel across country or out of the country, and you carry that banner, and it's like going, hey, I'm representing Oregon and all that kind of stuff. So I'm telling you, for you to get out there, out of your element, you get to find out what kind of person you are, because you're used to seeing the same, ladies, each and every year at these events. And when you go somewhere else and you're not familiar with, that's where you got to go, okay, is all this stuff I'm training leading up to this, is it going to pay off against somebody I don't know anything about? You know, when you pulled the likes of Kimberly Woody or Mindy Woody, or you lock up with Nancy Nations, you kind of know already what they're all about. When it happens and when it counts is when you pull somebody, you have no idea who they are and what they are until you actually grip up with them on the table, and then everything kind of just, your mind goes into motion. Okay, so tell me, when you go down there July 15th, that ain't too far from now, when you go down there, what are you expecting? What are you doing to get ready for that?
I'm just going to keep training, taking direction from my coach, Mark Owen. And, I don't know how much strength I can gain before then, but I'm going to work on it and work on a lot of technical skill, work on what to do in specific situations. And, a funny note, at least to me, is that I've never actually pulled Nancy Nations in any competition. I've only pulled her in practice a couple of times, and I've never really done any ready goes with her.
Right.
Maybe a couple. So I only know of her in our practice and how strong she is in practice. So I don't know like the full Nancy, right? Like the full, or any of them. I don't know any of the other women that I've never met. I have no idea. I only hear about everybody. And so, I want to win. I'm not expecting to, though. And when I say that, I'm not going in with so much confidence that I'm just expecting to bring home the gold. I am going to give it my best shot, is all I can say. Honestly, to be humble. Like I believe in humility and doing the best I can do. And these women are incredibly strong, and they've all been arm wrestling a lot longer than I have. And so I'm sure I can learn something from every one of them. And so I'm going to go in and pull my hardest, and, in the after pulls or whatever, I'll learn what I can from everybody, and bring home a medal if I win one. I'm going down there to get more experience,
right?
And, test my own strength and skill, and to meet a bunch of awesome, strong women. Like, where else can you meet a bunch of awesome, strong women with like the same kinds of goals as you? As far
probably
as
the Brazil Cup in Utah.
yeah. Well, I want to go to that this year too. I want to go to that, and that's in November, I think.
Yes.
But I've never gone, and I'm going by myself. So I've never gone anywhere by myself since I was like 10 years old, like literally never anywhere alone. And so I am excited about that. I'm excited to meet a bunch of, I don't know, I call them legends, like all these women that are so strong that I've never met. I just see videos of them. They're just, it's like meeting all these people you watch on TV, and then you finally get to meet them, right? Like,
and you're in awe, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's an awe type of experience.
Now I'm gonna say something, so hear me out. As we got 15 people in the chat, thank you everybody, because Miss Katie Henke's in the house, and she's telling us her story from, I guess you could say, rags to riches or whatnot. So,
yeah, sure.
Here's the thing: is do not be scared of the spotlight. I've done that before, where I've gotten there. I'm like, wow, this is it and stuff. You're there for a reason. So I don't know if this makes sense to you, but for me, my thing goes like this, right? Business first, celebrate second, right?
Oh yeah,
totally. You're there for a reason. You can celebrate with all the people and rub shoulders and all that kind of stuff at the after pool. Right now, you're there for a reason. You there to go ahead and make it happen.
Totally serious. I get real, probably.
Even Neil Pickup's in the house. What's up, my friend? How are we doing? See that?
Hey, Neil. Even, I go in, I get probably a little too nervous, but I get real psyched out and I get real serious. And like everything in my life is on the line. I feel like I have to channel like all my energy into every match, regardless of who I'm pulling, because I cannot underestimate anybody, regardless of how little or how much they weigh. Like, I have learned in this sport that your weight is literally just a number. Like, it does not matter how good you are on the table. Like I said, I lost to Mindy Woody so many times, and she's tiny compared to me, right? And it doesn't matter. So I can't go in thinking, well, I'm bigger, I'm going to win, or I'm smaller, I'm going to lose, or any of these like preconceived notions. I just have to go in, do what I can do best. And like you said, I'm not going to have any emotions about it. I'm just going to go in, do my thing. And then afterward, I can, maybe take a breath and chat with some people later.
Sometimes, Katie, I will say this. I've been in this sport for this is year number 13 for me. And, you know, two things that stick out, I've been told by my peers. One, yeah, Jody's quick off the go. And two, Jody's just super duper nice. And which I am, both of those. But there's times where sometimes that niceness can be a negative toward me, where I'm so nice on the table. I don't have that main streak. It's just not in my DNA. I mean, unless somebody crosses me, that's one thing. But I'm just not that guy who just breathing all that kind of stuff. I'll get fired up. Don't get me wrong. But now it's like, after a while, you've been in this sport for a minute, the whole mind changes. So now the approach would be like, okay, you know what? When it's all said and done, the smoke clears. And I'm speaking of my opponent. They're going to know they've been in a fight. That's, for me, when it's all said and done, they're going to know when it's all, hey, when the match is done, win, lose, or draw, they're going to know. Then that Jody, man, badass. So maybe you could be something like that. Because, again, nobody knows you outside of Arizona or outside of Oregon. Nobody knows a whole lot about you. So when you go down there, they're like, oh, Katie Henke. They're like, Katie Henke, oh, okay. Let them think that. Shock the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be nice. Yeah. It'd be nice to come in and be like, we don't know who you are. Now, at least they know who I am. At least maybe someone could be like, oh, who's that? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
just saying strike fear in my opponents is a little too dramatic for my taste, but just, maybe give me a second look. Like, I'm from Oregon, you never heard of me, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean I'm not going to try to slam your hand down. I'm not going to freaking try to beat you as fast and as hard as I can. Because I try to be fast off the go too. That's one of the things I try really hard to do is speed. Now I'm not the fastest, but I do believe that if you can strike first and catch your opponent off guard, just like in a street fight, you can have a better chance of winning, even if you're not as strong. If you can get them over to a certain point, some people can't recover. If you can get them to a certain point and just hang on them, wait them out, then you can win. I don't know. I haven't been in enough matches to know,
Strike first, strike hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No mercy. No mercy.
So now, being in the sport for what, a couple years now? 3 years, give or take?
Two.
So is there any ladies out there that you would love to have a match with just to see where you stand?
Well, I already mentioned her, but I really do want to pull Nancy Nations.
Okay.
I and maybe that means I really want to lose to Nancy Nations, but it doesn't matter to me. I want to pull her and I want to feel her strength.
Mm-hmm.
I want to taste that strength and fire that she's gotten there. And, I'm probably biting off a lot more than I can chew, but I feel like I'm stronger on my left. And I really, really someday want to pull Jolene Anderson. I do.
Utah. Yes. Yeah. I'm telling you right now.
She's way up there, but if you're not shooting for the top, what's the point?
If by chance you're able to go to Utah in November, right? The Brazilian Cup, that's Bob Brown's event. If by chance you're able to go there, I would highly recommend it because you're going to get more than you can chew and then some. Because the array of talent that they had last year from the ladies, it's like, wow, you need to go there. I was
watching that. I wanted to go to that one and I couldn't make it, but I think the plan this year is to go to that one. So I think I already got it on my calendar. It's November 11th, but who's counting, right? Who's saving the date?
Just because, we're talking about ladies arm wrestling, I had to put this out there because the question came up from the Drew 24. Neil, do you plan on having some ladies at Arm Wars down the road? My man Neil says, yes, we're actually planning on having all-female Iron House card down the tracks. So with that being said, and that's going to, really get everything going too, because I think that I don't think anybody has done that when it's just, we understand, the Brazilian Cup does that. But I'm telling you, you're talking about putting some ladies on the map worldwide.
Yeah.
Trust me when I say this.
That's going to light some fire under people. I mean, you know, it can be disappointing sometimes to go to a tournament and as a female arm wrestler and have trained so hard and to not feel like it's taken as seriously, which I understand to a point in that it is a male dominated sport. There's going to be more men competing. There's going to be more men watching, but we are in it for a reason because we have a place there. We have a place to pull. We have earned our right to be there regardless of our skill level. We are competing. And as long as women's arm wrestling exists, we need to be, lifted up and recognized for the strength and the power that we bring as women. And we inspire other women too. I'm inspired by Nancy Nations. I'm inspired by Paige. I'm inspired by Jolene Anderson. All these women that are super strong, they inspire me to get better and to keep going and stay the course, not go back to that old lifestyle of drugs and alcohol and just degeneracy. I'm inspired to keep going and be the best I can be. And without young girls seeing that they can be strong and still, powerful, you don't have to be any certain thing. I feel like I'm just rambling now. But when I was a little girl, this is kind of off topic, I always wanted to be the tiniest, petitest thing I could be, right? In my mind, I wasn't worth anything unless I was tiny and petite and almost non-existent, like just not even strong, not just a little tiny like waif of a person is what I wanted to be. And for anybody that doesn't know, I'm 5'9" and about 210 pounds. Okay, so I am not small by any means, and it's taken me a long time to get to the point to embrace my size and my strength as a positive. Almost my whole life to embrace who I am. And I think that as arm wrestlers, we inspire other people to embrace their natural gifts and be strong with who they are and confident in who they are. And I think that's a good message for men and women, but especially women when there's so many things telling us to not be that, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, and then for us guys, we look at guys like, Jerry, Devin, Levon, Chafee, Michael Todd, list goes on and on, Ingen, Neil. For you ladies, it's, Gabby, Vasconcelos, Sarah Bachman, Arenia, list goes on and on, Fia Reisig. I mean, we could just name off a bunch of ladies if we wanted to, Marlon Klein-Smith. I mean, honestly. So from a lady standpoint, when you see them on the moniker, on the marquee and matches, which we haven't seen in a bit, what excitement draws to you?
You mean when I see them, when I watch their matches, what do I think?
Right. Like when you see them and like going, oh, wow, the ladies are on pay-per-view, like what draws you and what are you actually looking at from a lady standpoint?
I feel like I'm watching, like two titans going at it, like these, like almost untouchable levels of strength and skill. And I should just say untouchable, not almost untouchable, because I feel like I could be good, but I don't know I could ever be that good because I don't have enough time and not dedicating enough of my life to it. But watching these women is really inspiring. I mean, they've taken a sport that historically is just men, and they've gone the highest you can go, like Michael Jordan, like the highest of that you can be, and they're crushing it. I mean, and they can beat some men too. I mean, not like the best men, obviously, but they can beat men, and it's exciting to me to watch, two really strong women arm wrestle. Like it like I said, it's just inspiring. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, it gives me something to work towards, or at least, try to get better, be slightly closer to as good as they are.
So, we know arm wrestling is a family, right? So it's like a family. Like it's so much of a family that, I consider people like, Andrew Cobra Rhodes. You go ask Andrew Cobra Rhodes, you know, hey, you know Jody Williams. He'll be like, oh yeah, that's my nephew. You know, you ask, you know, Sarah Latona, hey, you know Jody? Oh yeah, that's my big brother. So like it's a family atmosphere. Now, why I'm so excited for you to go to Arizona, because now, you know, you get exposure, right? You get to pull somebody outside of your comfort zone, because that's when you really know what's
Oh
really
yeah.
going on, you know. And when you do that, and you get a taste of, you know, what's Armstrong like in this part of this neck of the woods, you're gonna be like, ah, I get it, and it's gonna blow your mind. I'm telling you, when I did that, when you're pulling on a IFA world stage, you know, you kind of go, oh, okay, and it's all said and done, I got to get back, I got to work this wrist, you know. Or when you go across the pond and you're in England, thank you, Neil, and you go and compete at an Arm Wars over there, and when it's all said and done, it's going to change your mind, your outlook, and go, okay, I got lots to work on, A, B, C, D, and what have you and stuff. And when you get that exposure, it's like, oh, okay, because then it's going to open your eyes to like, I thought I knew what I was doing. Until you experience that, you got to go, oh, I get it now. So, but it's baby steps. First, it's outside of the, you know, Northwest region, and you're going Southwest. Then it's like, okay, let me venture in toward the, you know, the Midwest. Let me venture in toward the East. And then maybe I'll go further north in Canada, maybe, or go across the pond at a Worlds or whatnot. But it's in baby steps. And when you start to realize that kind of stuff, you're going to go, ah, you know.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel the whole that feeling of, not that I'm a big fish, but
yeah, you see that? Neil knows what he's talking about. Hand, wrist, back pressure, cut, pronation, make
yeah,
them iron, you know? And
yeah.
the guy's, he knows what he's talking about. He's legit. He's
Oh
legit.
yeah, for sure. I know the feeling of at least being a somewhat big fish in a small pond, like Oregon, like being good in Oregon, like you said, but how do I compare anywhere else? Like as far as going to Arizona, I'm probably a minnow. Who knows? I'm gonna find out. But
Right.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared. You know, I've been a little intimidated before, but you know, everybody loses, and it is literally part of getting better is failing. Like
Right.
you're not gonna improve unless you fail, in my opinion, at least. I don't know who has never failed and gotten to where they want to go. But it helps to build character, and I don't know. I could always use more character. So
Well, not only that, but this sport is very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very humbling, because, you know, and I'll say this, you know, you and I know people in our state of Oregon that, you know, they put way too much pressure on themselves, where it's like going, look, it's not the end of the world. I even had, you know, and I always put pressure on myself too. So I'm not going to be like, you know, the guy that never did that. And it took my wife to sit me aside and go, look, settle down. You know, you don't have to always try to make a point to prove to us, because win, lose, or draw, we're going to root for you. We still love you, and it's all good. Just relax, have fun, enjoy it. So
yeah,
hearing that, you know, from your significant other, kind of puts things in perspective and go, oh, okay. Because here I am going, oh, I got to do it for them, and I got to, you know, make them proud of me. It's like going, you know, what she was trying to say was, look, I'm already proud of you. You don't have to do all this. You don't have to add all this extra pressure on yourself to prove to us, because we know what you're about. You know, we love you when you win. We love you when you lose. It doesn't matter. So when you
yeah,
hear that, it's like going, ah, and all of a sudden all this weight came off my shoulders, and now it's like I'm ready to fuck somebody up now. So that's just
yeah.
that's just like, you know.
I put a lot of pressure on myself for myself
Mhm.
because I feel like I'm the type of person that if I don't keep myself constantly in check, I'm going to backslide. So, in some regards, and as far as like training for arm wrestling, for sure. So, I'm always putting a lot of pressure on me. So, when I want to win, I mean, I want my family to be proud and everything, but I'm not doing it because that I hope that they be proud. I'm doing it because I want to prove to myself that I can do it. Because I'm not doing this for anybody else.
Right.
I don't know, maybe that sounds selfish or something, but I'm not doing this for anybody but me. And
Right.
and hopefully other women that want to join the sport, that see that you can overcome great adversity and obstacles in your life and get to a place where you're comfortable competing in front of people and having the confidence to go up there, even if you don't win, that you keep trying, you keep going, don't give up. Like, that's my thing, is that even if I fail, I don't ever give up. I don't want to ever give up. Always
Right.
get up. Like, just because you fall, and it's cliche, just because you fall doesn't mean you're done. You got to keep getting up over and over and over and over again. There's always going to be somebody that'll beat you eventually. Eventually, there will probably be somebody stronger or better at whatever it is you're trying to do in life, and they will beat you at some point.
Right.
And you just have to keep trying. That's the way life is. Can't win.
I'll tell you what, you have a very unique situation, because with your training, your team, Brute Squad, by the way.
Brute Squad.
I know that you train with a bunch of guys. There's hardly any ladies, if any, besides yourself there. So
right.
does
There's
that
none.
give you an advantage? So you're used to grabbing guys' hands who, bigger than your normal woman's hand. So now when you do get to a tournament and you're gripping up going, oh, okay, well, I've been used to training with guys who got strong hands. Now I get to, pull somebody in my own division and my own, gender. It's like, do you feel like, oh yeah, this is awesome now? Explain that.
It depends on who I pull. So like I said, I've never pulled Nancy in a competition, but Nancy has really big hands. Her hands are about the same size as mine, which I have pretty big hands. And I'm guessing that a few other women have really big hands. Like, I'm guessing Paige has big hands. I don't know. I've never met her, but I'm guessing. But hand control is something that I like. Like, I feel like I'm good at it because, like you said, I'm used to pulling with men, so I'm used to getting my hand dominated or trying to work through another hand that's like also really big. Like, I don't know if you've probably gripped up with Mark Owen, but his hands are like the Hulk's hands. Okay, they're not just big; they're like twice or three times as thick as the average human's hand, and his thumb is huge. Like, everything is huge. So if you can get really good at gripping a big hand, then gripping a little hand, in some ways, can be easier because you can dominate better. But that being said, doesn't matter sometimes. Like I said, Mindy Woody, her hands aren't that big; she still beat me. So, it depends on who you're pulling. But I think that training with almost exclusively men is probably beneficial to me.
Right.
I hope.
No, I think it is, because you always want to train with somebody who's the stronger person, because then that way, okay, if I can make a dent into that person who's a lot stronger than me, then I know I'm making strides,
Right.
And like I said, the Brute Squad, what do you guys got, 30 deep or something like that?
There's so many. Every week, I think there's more people that have come to practice. It's like, I think Mark's going to have to build a second shed. Like, he probably hates that I said that because it costs so much money for one shed. But I think if everybody put in some money, we could get it done. But there's so many people that you have to wait outside to get in, because everybody wants a chance to pull, and we rotate kind of. And some people rotate more than others. I'll tell you that right now. Some of you need to rotate more often in practice. But
I like that you guys got the shed over there. But my question would be, because we're talking about, people kind of waiting in line, like you're at the DMV, you're like going, okay, I'm waiting for my number to get in because the shed is only so big, and it was bigger than what he had before. So now you got 5 tables, but still you got people waiting. Did it ever occur to you that maybe you guys just say, look, let's go rent a park. I'll bring my tables and we'll just go there. Everybody bring a table. So that way no one's not out the shed kind of sitting up there eating an apple waiting to get in. You know what I mean?
I don't know if that's ever occurred to anybody. I know that, and I don't know what Mark thinks. I think he likes having it there because he's got weights there. He's got everything he needs is at this one location, and it's all fenced in. And so, like, I have a small son, he runs around in the yard and I don't have to worry about him really running away. And a park would be good too, but it would also require a lot of tables being brought. Like I have a table that I've brought to practice before so that we have 6 tables. But you know, Mark's got 5 in his shed alone. And so he would have to find a way to transport 5 tables to a park, or we'd have to get like 5 trucks or 5 vans or whatever. So it would be a larger undertaking, I think, to get everybody to a park with a table. Than maybe just a couple extra people bringing tables or something. But yeah, there's a lot of people at practice. I think you're right about 30.
Good Lord.
there's a lot of people that, and new people are coming. You know, we just got a new woman, Edna.
Okay.
She's been training and she's really strong. And so there's a lot of people that have shown interest and come to practice multiple times now, aside from all the people that have already been there.
I got to say this because I know some of your teammates are in the chat watching also. Adam's in the chat, you know, Pastor Mark's in the chat. But I will say this, and this goes back to, you know, what you just said about the 30 people on your team. So when I was in England back in March, and I was talking with Maynard Ninjas out of the Netherlands, right? And we're kind of at the table after pulling and whatnot, just kind of messing around, and we're exchanging information and that kind of stuff. And he says, yeah, well, my club, we're about 30 deep. It resembles what you guys do. They got 5 tables. He goes, what we do, half the people get on a table and the other half are working out. I mean, we're talking about at a big gym. I'm not saying y'all need to do this, but they're at a big gym. You got people working out and the others are on the table. After a while, you rotate. Now the people working on the weights, they're on the table doing table time, and the people from the table time, now they're out there working on the weights. So that way you get the best of both worlds. So I'm telling you right now, when I was talking to him, it kind of blew my mind. Like, no wonder you guys are so good, because it's those guys table time, but they're also training like 4 or 5 times a week though also. So
well, I've suggested that type of thing, not that exact thing, but something like that at practice, jokingly, because most people just laugh at me. But I've said, when you're not in the shed, you need to be working out here. So I'll do some push-ups. I'll go jog around the block a couple times. You know, and I've only done that a couple of times, but try to do something to keep yourself active before you get back in again. Because most of the time, honestly, I'm just chasing my 2-year-old around or just sitting there shooting the shit with whoever's out there, you know. And you're right, we could be using that time to up-level all sorts of areas of our game. Oh, there's Edna. That's Edna. She's in our group now.
Yeah, so she said she can't stay long. She, she got counseling, but Edna, welcome to arm wrestling, because it's a very addictive thing. So I'm glad she's in it, So, but again, I like the fact that you get to do this, and I'm so glad that you finally get to break out of that shell and go, okay, I want to see how far I can go with this thing. And everybody should actually do that. How far can I go, in this sport, And I'm going to say something, I might get a lot of crap for it, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I've been here a long time, and I think I have the gall to say that when it comes to Oregon arm wrestlers. It goes like this. There are a handful of people in the state of Oregon who want to be that big fish in a small pond and think that they want to be involved in certain conversations or certain matches. And I'm here to tell you, all that means little to nothing until you experience arm wrestlers outside of your region. I can only say that. That's just my honest opinion. So that's why I'm so super duper excited for you when you go to Arizona, because now all that stuff, you get to test yourself. You get to go say, hey, you know what? I want to see where I really stand, because then who knows? You go up there, there's Paige Williams and stuff. I'm like, all right, got her hair pulled back. She's ready to throw down. Got her hat on. She's ready to throw down. And you lock up with her, and let's just say you actually get a win. Then it's like, man, all that stuff is paying off. And that'll make you even hungrier. Or you go there and like, okay, she outpowered me. Now it's back to the lab, back to the drawing board. I'm hungry now. I got a taste of pulling somebody outside the state of Oregon that I'm thinking, okay, now I know what it's all about, And then we go a step further. If for some reason or another you do, please, I'm saying please, make that trip to Utah because you know Jolene Anderson is going to be there, and when you lock up, you're going. Because I'm telling you, she's won IFA Worlds.
Oh yeah, she's a beast.
Yeah.
I'm excited and terrified all at the same time. So, but I gotta have big goals and little goals, and that's a big goal. Is to pull her and maybe someday beat her. I'm not saying it's ever going to happen, but I've got to have things I'm reaching for as I continue on, and just being able to grip up with her would be exciting for me. And I'm looking at Arizona like it's going to be a win for me no matter what happens, because either I'm going to lose a lot or not, or I don't know, whatever happens, I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn where I am. I'm going to learn my weaknesses and my strengths. And okay.
Yeah, Le'Aaron, there's Angela Matthews up in Wisconsin, Le'Aaron Wilson, list goes on and on. There's Megan Blake. So I mean, the list goes on and on, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yes. So
so I mean, they're all at the top. They're all at the top of the list of hope to beat someday people, and when you're only in it for 2 years, it's a lot to digest, to try to think, well, someday I'm going to beat them, or I want to beat them. So I'm just going for like, what's next? And so right now, what's next is the tournament tomorrow, and then Arizona State, and then the Joe Woody at the end of July. And then I don't know, I might not do anything until November, and just train.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Just train. Nothing wrong with that, because if Utah's your target date after Myrtle Creek in July 29th, then it's like, okay, I know there's going to be some ass kickers down there in Utah, and I got to get myself prepared up here and prepared, physically. So,
and by then I'll know I will have already done Arizona, and so I will know, what I need to work on, what my weaknesses are. I'll have that more defined probably. And like you said, I can work on getting stronger for the John Brezink Cup. But,
well, I mean, here's the thing, because you and Jolene, look at Sarah. She's been trying to beat Le'Aaron for like 3 years. Love her. Keep doing what you're doing, Katie. You're making waves, girl. Yes, because there's always that one, and it's like going, okay. And even we'll go a step further. There's Cherry. She's out of Canada, and they come to Washington for tournaments like that. She's another person, I wouldn't overlook, so.
No, I don't overlook anybody anymore. I mean, honestly, when you look at Le'Aaron Wilson, she weighs 136 pounds. She's small. She doesn't look that intimidating. And then you get up there and she's like, you're like, oh my God, like what just happened? I don't even know. I mean, is the match over? Like, and so it doesn't matter like how big they are, how little they are, where they're coming from.
Right.
They've got skill, they've got experience, much more than me. So I'm here to learn, and maybe one day beat them.
Well, I'll tell you what, you will do it. Trust me when I say that. Well, sister, we've been on here for almost an hour. I want to thank you for being a guest here and telling your awesome story. How is it all right for me to say rags to riches or no?
Oh yeah, that's fine. Sure. You could say train wreck to contributing member of society. I don't know, whatever you want to say.
Because seriously, I mean, your story was very telling and awesome, and a lot of people don't recover from that. And you were very fortunate, and you found something in arm wrestling to where it kept you out of trouble. You found something that's like, you know what? I want my kids to look at mom as like, hey, mom's around, mom's doing something positive, mom's not doing all that weird stuff, and your husband or your boyfriend, Paul, he's in it too. So it's almost like, okay, now it's just going to bleed down, because now your oldest son, he's competing. Yes. He competed at the LOD. Yes.
Yes, he did. He competed. He competed in the kids, and he won 1 and lost 2. And then he competed in the amateurs, and he's such a huge kid. He's like 6'1" and 250 or 240 or something. So he's competing.
That's a man child. What the hell?
Yeah. He's only 16. He's competing against these men that are just way stronger than he is in certain regards, especially. And he's not experienced, but I feel like it's lighting the fire under his ass too, to something to push for. And, I'm glad you mentioned my kids, because I do think about them as far as, being a good example, especially more than I was. I wasn't a good example at all. And so, they need to know that keeping something that you're competing towards and working towards all the time is going to keep you on, the up and up.
Right. Well, you know what? Thank you for being a guest, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you. I will do my best to win tomorrow. No guarantees ever at any tournament, but I will do my best.
And everybody in the chat who doesn't know, yes, in Oregon, there's arm wrestling tournaments midweek. Yeah, tomorrow. Yes, it's legit. But, July 4th is always Will of Minor time. I used to go there myself. When my kids were younger, they would go to compete. So we made a big old festival of it, and we go down there and we do our thing. But now that, they're like, I don't totally get it now. So I'll be at work. But yes, good luck tomorrow. Do what you do. Bring home a medal, and then shift your gears to Arizona State, July 15th, by the way, people, just so we're clear. So, but yes,
right.
Katie, it's awesome to have you on the show. I'm gonna let you go right now because I got some training I got to do before I go to work, because I gotta get ready, right? So,
all right, thanks, Jody.
Yes, ma'am. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye.